Hi everyone, and welcome to another one of our quick practices. This is going to be another one of our core strength-based practices, so if it ends up like last one that isn't that quick, I will make sure I put that in the comments so you know before you begin just what you're getting yourself into today. So most of today's practice is based around planking work. So if this is going to cause you any issues, then please think about all our planking poses to be done from your forearms. You can do these from fists rather than flat hands, or put a little wedge under the heel of your hands just to lift that up and see if that helps you. Give yourself some adjustments as you need to. I will give adjustments to have knees to the mat or to be stood, depending on what suits you best as well. So let's begin. So starting today by closing your eyes or softening your gaze. Bring your awareness into your breath. Relaxing your shoulders down away from your ears. Drawing up through the spine, feeling that long line of energy from crown of the head, down through the tailbone into the earth. Allowing your breath to draw deeper, fully expanding the chest on the inhale, and fully softening and releasing on the exhale. Each breath moving you further away from the busyness or the distractions of your day, and bring you to this place and this moment, ready for your practice to begin. When you're ready, allowing the eyes to open and starting to gently circle through both wrists, rotating them round your comfortable range of movement. And then taking both wrists the opposite direction. Fantastic. Stretching the arms out in front, fingertips up towards the sky, pressing the heels of the hands away from you, so you're trying to press something heavy, pushing against a wall, moving the furniture that I need to move each time I want to film, pushing something away. And then taking the fingertips down to the ground. Imagine you pushing with the back of your hands. And release that down, bring the shoulders up towards the ears, rolling the shoulders back, squeezing the shoulder blades together behind you, dropping down and bring the shoulders forward once more. So rolling back all the time to release through the shoulder joints. Fantastic. And then when you're ready, coming round on your mat to all fours. Into cat and cow. So hands possibly underneath the shoulders, knees under the hips. But if it's better for your wrists, making that a longer stance, taking the hands further forward. Or coming to forearms. And starting to work through cat and cow when you're ready. So as you exhale, starting to tuck the tailbone under. Arching up through the back. Widening between the shoulder blades, the head coming heavy, the gaze towards the knees. And when you're ready, inhale, that movement starting from the tip of your nose. Your gaze starting to lift, shoulder blades coming towards each other, chest coming down, and finally tailbone lifting at the end. Keeping that wave flowing from one end of the spine to the other. Enjoying the feeling of each vertebra moving one by one. And completing an even number of movements in either direction. Returning to a neutral spine, so a flat back position. And from here, we're just going to start to draw the weight slowly forward over the wrists. As you exhale, pulling back, bottom towards heels. Inhale, bring your body weight forward. And exhale, drawing back. Keeping that going to your pace. And you may want to come a little bit forward over your wrists, or you may want to come much further through. You may even have your chest close to the ground. Seeing your range of movement. But trying to keep the palms down to the earth if you're working hands to the earth. Try not to clench the fingers up if you can. As you work through this pose, you're pushing the ground away with your hands, just like we were doing when we were working through seated. All that creaking going on. I know you're used to my creaky knees, but that is actually the floor for once. I feel I need to stress that my knee is not about to pop. And next time you come back to center, we're going to change the position of the hands. So taking the fingers to face towards the edges of the mat, the wrists facing towards each other, making sure they're still around shoulder width apart. And again, taking the weight forward and drawing back while keeping the palms to the earth. There can be a real temptation to lift the hands to enable yourself to get further back. Listen to where your body's range of movement is today. Listen to where your wrists are happy to be today. And next time you come to center, we're going to change that wrist position again. So bring the hands to face in towards each other this time, fingers towards each other, wrists out towards the edges, still just being mindful of that separation distance, being roughly shoulder width apart. You haven't got your hands really wide towards the edges of the mat, and your fingers aren't overlapping in the center unless you've got a very narrow shoulder width. So when you're ready, same as before, drawing forward, keeping the palms pressing the earth away. As you exhale, draw back. Inhale, draw forward. And exhale back. And again, completing an even number of movements, forward and back. Bring that back up to center, and our last one, we're going to turn the hands in towards you. Now, it depends on your anatomy whether you want to turn your hands around the outside or you want to turn them through the center. I'm just going to turn forward, just being mindful. Make sure that's still in the shot. Making sure, so just being mindful that your wrists may not come all the way around, or you might find that you've got quite a different range of movement one side to the other. You might find both of them are just pointing slightly back from the center, or you might find that you can comfortably take them all the way around. So just going wherever your body is okay to go today. We're going to go very cautiously through this one. We're not going to take it further than your body's happy with. So with fingers pointing towards you, as you exhale, so as you inhale, slowly drawing forwards, and as you exhale, slowly bringing yourself back. Inhale to draw forward. Exhale to pull back. There's probably a smaller movement on this one than you've had in the previous versions. And if it causes you any significant pain in your wrists, then return to a standard version with the hands forward or releasing out and going to child's pose. Otherwise, we're just going to do this one for a few more moves. I'm aware it can be strong, especially if it's not one you're used to doing. If you are joining us and you're usually in our aerial classes, it is a great one for building up wrist strength for aerial. So making this the last movement, bring yourself back to centre, turning both hands forward once more, and pulling back to kneeling, releasing the wrists in any way that's right for you. So that might be circling, remember to ball the wrist up and roll it through the other fist. Interlace the fingers, stretching the hands away. Seeing what's right for your body right now. Well done. And coming forward once more, we're all going to come to forearms this time to give the wrist a little bit of a break. So bring the elbows under the shoulders and interlacing the hands at the centre. We're just going to start from kneeling here, and you're probably going to want to make this a little bit longer than your usual stance. So you've got the elbows a little bit forward of the shoulders. And when you're ready, as you inhale, drawing yourself forward, going to a long kneeling plank. As you exhale, pull back, sinking the chest towards the earth, coming to a variation on puppy dog pose. Keeping that work with the breath, draw forward, trying to keep the hips in line with the spine, and drawing back once more. Okay, again taking that knee even a number of times forward and back. Bring back to centre, turning the toes under. We're going to lift this to a forearm plank. Bearing in mind you might need to go forward or back on your mat if you end up with your feet off the end. So turning the toes under, lift one leg and then the other. Going to hold a forearm plank. Taking a few breaths here. Anytime you need to, releasing down to the mat. Otherwise, when you're ready, one knee down and then the other, inching the knees in and pulling back to pose of a child to release. Coming up once more, coming to all fours, we're going to go into our standard plank variation now. Now have a little bit of fun with this one. So if this doesn't work for you, I'm going to ask you just to take your knees further back to come to a kneeling plank, a long kneeling plank. Hopefully it'll work for most of you. Otherwise your option would be to come back to forearms and work from there. But some of the work we're going to do is a little bit more challenging with forearms, if you have the space. So either taking your knees back, come to a long kneeling plank, or turning the toes under and coming up to your full plank. I'm going to start by moving this one. So turning over to the side, opening the arms into your side plank, bring the hand back down, and taking that to the opposite side. So keeping that going, okay, we're not going to have a static hold here. We're just going to control it, moving one way and the other. Saying about staying on your mat, I'm starting to think it'd be easier to be on the floor, to be honest. My mat's working its way away. Coming back to the centre, release the knees down for a moment, take a breath, take a moment. And when you're ready, come back towards your plank, bending both elbows, taking the elbows underneath the chest and lifting up. So that might be quite a generous movement depending on both the strength of your upper arms, but also your familiarity with this move. If you're hypermobile, we tend to have built up the strength in the wrong places in the arms. So you may find that this taking the elbows back underneath rather than outside means you only get a really small lower down. That can be true for anyone, but it's especially true for people who are hypermobile. Again, your option here would be to do it from a long kneeling stance, keeping the hands under the shoulders, the knees back of the hips, and lowering a little and raising from there. Still trying to have the palms to the earth. And trying to keep the whole of the body in your plank. So we're not quite doing a press up, we're not taking the elbows wide, we're keeping them tucked in as we lower and lift. So making this your last one. Bringing both knees to the mat, going back up to seated, giving the wrists a circle, releasing them out, and circling the opposite way. And we have one more variation. And for this one, we're going to look to have, while we're not holding the opposite elbow, we're going to stack the arms on the mat, one in front of each other. Okay, when I turn sideways, it's not always easy to see what my arms are doing. So we're going to come to our forearms, but instead of having the hands pointed forward, bringing one hand behind one elbow, other hand in front of the other elbow, and stretching one leg away and then the other. Coming to your folded arm plank, seeing how that feels, how that varies it for you. And then at any point, whenever you feel ready, bring the hips down to the floor, bring the hands, the arms forward, stacking one elbow on top of one hand, bringing your head to rest on your arms, taking a few rounds of breath. And bending the left knee, and sliding up the ground, turning your head towards your left elbow, into a crocodile pose, and just holding there for a few rounds of breath. If you can't feel much, if there's no stretch happening, you can always start to walk your elbows over towards the knees, still with your head resting on top, Still one hand under the elbow, one hand on top of the opposite elbow. And hold there for a few rounds of breath. On an inhale, bring that back to centre. Stretching the leg away. As you exhale, taking that over towards the other side. Bending the knee up first. Bring the leg to wherever it's comfortable. Turning the head to look towards the right elbow. And possibly starting to walk the elbows over towards the bent knee. If that's okay for you. Again, holding there for a few rounds of breath. On an inhale, bring the arms back to centre, stretching the leg away once more. Taking a few breaths here. If the breaths become all rushed or uneven, consciously trying to draw the breath deeper in. Maybe working with a count, maybe working to a length of 3, 4, 6. To try and make the inhale and the exhale the same length. Preparing your body and your mind to go back to your day balanced and prepared. And when you're ready, taking an inhale, gently bring yourself onto one side and then coming back up to seated. Coming to any comfortable seated position to close. And bring your hands together at your chest in prayer. And going today with peace, compassion, contentment. Namaste.